Folks, today I want to talk about connecting external information into your Salesforce CRM system for the benefit of your customers and your team. I'm Arya. I'm a solution engineer at Salesforce, 8-time certified CRM expert. I've implemented the platform for the last 5 years for teams of 3 to 300. I specialize in our AI and customer data platform products, that's Agentforce and Data360, and I work with primarily small business and medium-sized customers. I'm here to make your wildest CRM dreams come true, so let's get started. A lot of customers these days have information that lives outside of their CRM system. And in order to action it, it often takes multiple teams talking to each other to figure out how to take Snowflake data, Google Sheets data, Salesforce core data, and make it actionable from a marketing perspective, from an agentic perspective, from a customer service perspective. Well, Salesforce Data360 does that for you, gives you a place to put that information, to harmonize that information, to unify that information and keep what you need, and then action it. Which means if I come into the Salesforce system, what you're going to see is for Omega, okay, fantastic. I can pull in maybe tank monitoring, IoT data from outside of Salesforce and have it visible for the people that need it immediately. For my marketers, that means I can create segments based off of that external information. I don't need to talk to a data analyst and go and pull that information. I can ask Einstein. And what I can say is, hey, why don't you go ahead and just make a segment for me where accounts have a tank weight of over 11 pounds or have less than 50% fuel left. And Einstein will just go ahead and make that for me. I can create that segment, I can activate it, and I can attach it as a data cloud segment here in a marketing tool, account engagement, which means dynamically as customers enter that segment, I can send them down journeys based off of that external information that I've just made actionable in the CRM. Not only that, but as that external information changes, maybe I want to take subsequent actions, send emails, update records, so on and so forth. I absolutely can. All I have to do is set my entry conditions, choose a data cloud object, and mention that my conditions are, when the tank capacity, for example, drops less than 50%. So I can go ahead and take action as I need based off of that external information. Today, I am going to show you the first couple steps of getting this happening. We're going to start with Google Sheets. We're going to harmonize some tank monitoring information, and we're going to bring that into Salesforce and make it actionable. Let's get started. First things first, folks, let's make sure you do have Data Cloud or Data360 ready to go. So we're going to head over to Data Cloud Setup here in my org. And we are going to make sure that we have a tenant endpoint ready to go. Now, if you haven't set up your Data Cloud tenant, please go ahead and do so. There should be an option here to get started, and it'll run you through all of the steps required to set this up. You will, of course, need to set up Data Cloud before getting started. Once that is ready to go, make sure as the admin to assign yourself 2 key permissions, Data Cloud Admin, and I would also recommend Data Cloud Architect as well. If you go into the permission sets for these permissions, also make sure we want to enable the default data space. That is going to give you access to the objects and external information that you are importing into that instance there as well. So I'm going to go over to Data Cloud Admin permission set. I'm going to open it up, and I just want to make sure that I do have the data space enabled that I care about. And we're going to see here, I'm going to hit the edit button and I will add default. I'm going to check the box next to default here so that that is enabled. Excellent. And now I will have access to the data space that's going to contain all of that beautiful external information. Once that is set up, you can head over to the app launcher here and search for Data Cloud. And let's jump in. I have it open in a tab right here. And the first thing I want to mention are data streams. Now, we're not going to create a new stream yet, but I do want to touch on this because as we think about what information we want to bring in, I want to mention that you can absolutely use the ingestion API to stream data into the system. You can also use any of the out-of-the-box connectors that we have, and there are 100 plus of them. And now there's one that I care about for this build today, and that is Google Sheets. Google Sheets, and it is a beta connector. And so the first thing here that I'm going to do is I want to enable beta connectors in my org. So from the setup menu here, I am going to type in feature and head to the feature manager. And once in the feature manager, I am going to search for beta connectors. Beautiful. And the beta connectors feature should be enabled. I want to make sure folks go ahead and enable that. And that's how we get access to setting up some of these beta connectors. Folks, we need to pause here real quick just to talk a little bit about security. On the right-hand side here, we have Google Sheets data. It's full of raw data, but we can't just leave the door open for anyone to grab it. Now, instead of writing a password directly into our system, which is very risky, we built a security checkpoint. That's your named credential here. It's like a digital bouncer. When the system wants to pull data, this bouncer is going to step in. It's going to talk to the auth provider, which handles a secret handshake between Google, and they exchange a token instead of our password, our actual password, which means if someone looked at our code, they wouldn't find the keys to the castle there. On the left-hand side, our loopback does something clever. We need to get that cleaned Google Sheets data. We've harmonized and unify it, which we're going to do, on a page to display for the user. Now, our Apex controller is going to reference that named credential. It's going to actually make the knock there on the door. The connected app answers. It checks the ID and issues a temporary VIP password access token. The setup is crucial. It's crucial because it follows a zero trust rule. It treats our own internal app with the same strict security checks as an outsider. We never assume that it's safe. We verify it every single time. So the question here is, why do we use an LWC and an Apex controller instead of just saving this data directly to a standard field? Well, think of a standard field like a printed photograph. It's going to capture data at one moment, but 5 minutes later, it's already out of date. Plus, Data360 is meant to store and aggregate millions of photos or files or pieces of information. Instead of storing that directly in Salesforce, we can use Data360 for what it was purpose-built for, and the LWC is that live window into that Data360 data. It's going to grab the exact numbers from that second. It's faster, costs us next to nothing in storage, and it's always 100% accurate. Now, in my record page here, you guys will notice, hey, I don't have any account profile data. I don't have any tank capacity. I don't have temperature. I don't have weight, so on and so forth. And that's because that connection hasn't been set up yet safely. So that's what we're going to do next. All right, let's keep moving. From the setup menu, I'm going to type in external client apps and head over to external client apps settings. I will enable connected apps, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new connected app. That's this part right here, which we'll do first. We are going to go ahead and add an app name. I'll go with Data Cloud API. I'll zoom in for you guys here, just so you can see. Contact email, I'll put my email in there. We are going to enable OAuth settings and set a callback URL. This will be at the start. Normally, it's just a placeholder value. We typically come back in here and update it with the callback URL of our auth provider. Now, I know the name of my auth provider at this stage, so I'm going to also add it in here as well. Notice that the syntax here is the my domain URL for your org, followed by services OAuth 2 callback. And this one is services auth callback data cloud auth provider. That's the name of the auth provider that we're going to create later on as well. I'm going to add my scopes here. This is very important. There's 5 or so scopes to add. Let me go through and add them right now. First one here is CDP API. This allows access. So as I pass credentials through and I authenticate with OAuth, this is what will tell the system what I, as the authorized user, am allowed to do. Now, so CDP API is the first one. We are going to grab CDP Profile API here, Manage Data Cloud Profile Data. We are going to grab CDP Query API because we want our Apex controller to be able to query that Data360 data. We are also going to grab the refresh token and offline access scopes as well. I'm just going to check to see if we're missing anything. There is manage user data via APIs, which we are going to add as well. So there's going to be 5 of these. We do not need to require proof key for code exchange, so I'm going to go ahead and uncheck that. And I am going to check the enable client credentials flow here as well. You can keep everything else the same for now, and I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And yes, it will take about 10 minutes to take effect. I'm going to go ahead and hit continue here. Now, when this is done, you are going to click manage consumer details. You're going to get a client ID or consumer key and a consumer secret. Save those somewhere because we are going to need them later. So go ahead, hit that button when this is all set. Go ahead and grab those keys and save them somewhere for you to copy and paste in later. With that connected app created, we're going to move on to our auth providers for Data Cloud and for Google. In the setup menu, I'm going to type in auth providers and head over to my list of auth providers. I'm going to create 2. So we would hit the new button here and create a new auth provider. I'm going to call this one Data Cloud Auth Provider. The provider type is going to be Salesforce. I am going to make sure that I match what I put in as the callback URL for that connected app. You'll notice that the callback URL also, after the last backslash, has the name Data Cloud Auth Provider. I'm going to add my consumer key in there, which I grabbed from the manage client credentials, that manage keys button on the connected app. I'm also going to add in my consumer secret as I'm creating this. The authorized endpoint URL here and the token endpoint URL are exactly the same. They're going to be the my domain URL that you have for your org, /services/OAuth2, /authorize for the authorized endpoint URL, /token for the token endpoint URL. You can uncheck the box for use proof key. We uncheck that on the connected app, and your default scopes will have to match what you have on your connected app as well. So we have a few of them. They are separated by spaces, not by commas here as well. So CDP API, refresh token, API, CDP query API, CDP profile API as well. You can check the box here for include consumer secret in SOAP API responses. Everything else you can leave as a default. And you'll notice Salesforce will generate a callback URL here that we put in our connected app. It's got the name of the auth provider after the last backslash there. Similarly, we are going to create a second new auth provider. My Google Workspace auth provider, I am going to set up in Google Cloud Console, and I'm going to pass in the authentication credentials here. immediately. Now, as you create an auth provider for Google, I've called mine Google Workspace Auth Provider. And for the consumer key and consumer secret, when you first create this, you can leave it blank for now. Your authorized endpoint URL is going to be accounts.google/o OAuth2 auth question mark. And then I'm adding a query at the end here, access type equals offline and prompt equals consent. This is going to force every time we authorize the named credential to agree to the scopes and permissions that we've granted Google, or granted from Google, which means querying the Sheets API and then accessing, of course, the files that we need to. I'm also setting some default scopes here. OpenID space email space profile, and then also the URL for the read-only permission for Google Drive, and then also a URL here for the read-only permission for Sheets, Google Sheets. So I will zoom in on these in case you want to take a closer look. And pause the video. Once this is created, I've also unchecked the box for use proof key and checked the box for include consumer secret in SOAP API responses. I am going to grab the callback URL here and copy it. From there, now keep in mind, consumer key and consumer secret are blank. I'm going to jump over into Google Cloud Console. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new project. Now for Google Cloud Console, I want to make sure that I am logged in to the Google account that owns the sheet that I care about. And for me, this is a dummy account called Fang Barrows. And I'm going to jump over here and I'm actually going to change myself to that individual. As I am in Google Cloud Console, the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to create a new project. So I can hit the project icon up at the top left, create a new project, and I have one created. It's Salesforce Data Cloud. So once that is created and I am in there, I can jump over to APIs and services. I'm actually going to use the navigation menu on the left-hand side and jump down to APIs and services and head over to the library of APIs and services that I can enable. And there's two that we want to enable here, Google Sheets. Google Sheets API, we are going to make sure that this is indeed enabled, and it is. You guys will see a enabled option to enable it if it's not. And then we are also going to do the same thing for Google Drive. And we want to make sure that that Google Drive API is also enabled, and perfect it is. From there, we will head over to the navigation menu, down to APIs and services, and let's go to the OAuth consent screen. As this loads up, we are going to add from the data access tab on the left-hand side, we are going to add scopes that we care about for this project. Now, I've already added a few of them here, but you're going to hit the add or remove scopes option, and you can search for Google Drive. As well, you can also search for and select Google Sheets and see the scopes related to those APIs. Now, the ones we need for this project really are just the read permissions. So the read only for Google Drive files and the read only for our Google Sheets file. But I've added the additional scopes here as well. Once that is all set, make sure to hit save to save those changes, and then head over to the Clients tab on the left-hand side. From there, we're going to create a new client, and I've created a web client here already, but you can hit the Create Client button. So I will go ahead and hit that, and we are going to paste in the callback URL that we grabbed from the Auth provider screen here. Once that is pasted in the authorized redirect URIs section, go ahead and hit save. You can name your web client as well, or name the client here. And we are also going to add a secret. And so I will click the add secret button. It's going to go ahead and add one. We can copy it at this point with the copy button here. Beyond that, once the copying is finished and you've navigated away from the page, you will not be able to copy it again. So it's important that you grab that and save it somewhere safe. You're also going to grab the client ID here, and we're going to go back to our auth provider in Salesforce and paste in that consumer key, that client ID there, and the secret that you copied here as well. From there, we can head over to named credentials. We can search for named credentials in the setup menu. And we can create a new external credential for Google Sheets. So I'm going to go ahead and call this Google Sheets. My authentication protocol is going to be Auth, and I will choose the auth provider that we just configured, the Google Workspace auth provider. I will hit save. Down towards the bottom, I'm going to create a named principal. So I'm going to say named principal. This is going to be a named principal, and I will hit save here as well. I'm then going to authenticate against this principal, and I'm going to hit the authentication button there, and it should pop me out into another page here. Looks like it's loading, and I'm going to choose the user who owns the sheet that I care about. Awesome. So it's going to ask me to authenticate here. I'm going to hit continue, and we should now see the scopes that we care about for this project: Google Drive files and Google Sheets as well. So if you don't see this, it means there's an issue with the scopes that you may have declared for this project. If you do not authorize against these scopes, you will not be able to pull that information via data stream. So I'm going to hit allow here, and we should be authenticated. I'll hit the confirm option as well. And we are all set. We have created our auth providers, our external credential. The last step here is to create a named credential for our Google Sheet external credential. So I'll go ahead and hit new. I'm going to say Google Sheets new. The URL here can be Salesforce. The external credential is going to be Google Sheets, the one that I just created, and everything else you can leave. I'll go ahead and hit save, and we should be good to go to create our connection to Google Sheets. Before I create my Google Sheets connection, I am also going to create an external credential and named credential for our Data360 instance as well. Keep in mind, we are porting information from Google Sheets over to Data360, and then we will be querying that information to display on a Lightning Web Component or in any other way that you deem you'd like. In order to do that, we need to make sure that the named credential our Apex code calls out to, remember, our Apex controller is going to call out to a named credential. We want to make sure that that named credential has the authentication that it needs to successfully return an access token that allows us to query the Data Cloud Query API. Our Apex controller is going to call that out. This is how I've designed it. Now, other teams may, instead of using a Lightning Web Component, they may have an Apex class that does the call out a different way. They might reference that named credential a different way in an external application, however it might be. The point is the credentials themselves are never hard-coded. Instead, the configuration is decoupled from the code so that we never have to pass our actual username and password over to get Data360 information. So I'm going to go ahead and create an external credential. I have one here that I've already created. It's called Data Cloud External. It is the OAuth 2.0 authentication protocol. It's a browser flow, and I've set the scopes here as well that are going to match what I have in my connected app that we created. That's CDP API, refresh token API, CDP query API, CDP profile API. Scrolling down, we are also going to add a named principal, and we are going to hit the drop down to authenticate that principal. This time you are going to log in with your org credentials, your Salesforce org credentials. That's your username and password. Now I've already done that, which is why you'll see my named credential is already configured. And once that is created, that external credential, we are then going to go to named credentials and create a named credential that references that external credential. And that named credential I've called Data Cloud New. I have set the URL to be my domain URL for this org. We've made it enabled for callouts, and I have chosen the external credential that I just made in the last step as well. Everything else can be left the same, and that's why you'll see Data Cloud New referenced in my Apex controller as well. From there, we are ready to go. We can go ahead and create a connection, and we can massage the information that comes into Data360 to get it usable and relevant as well. Last step before I create my Google Sheets connector, I am going to assign access to use those external credentials to my user via permission set. Now I have created a permission set here called Google Sheets Data360 permission. If I didn't add to the Data Cloud admin or Data Cloud architect permission set the access to that Data Cloud data space, default data space, I can do that here as well. Now I've gone ahead and added it already as a accessible data space. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grant access to use those external credentials, which means anyone who has this permission set will be able to use the connections that we set up to safely and securely visualize and use that information, that Google Sheets information. So I'm going to come down here in permission sets to external credential principal access, and I will grant access to the principals, named principals that I created. Now, one here I've already checked off. The other one I'm going to access is the Google Sheets named principal, and I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Now, this permission set is already assigned to my system admin user, my user. But once the selections are saved, he'll go ahead and hit manage assignments and then assign this permission set to a user by clicking add assignment and then searching for the user that you care about. Once that is done, I can head over to other connectors. From there, I can hit the new button. I can choose Google Sheets. I can select after naming, I can select the named credential that we created, the Google Sheets named credential. I can test the connection, and that connection should be established. So I can go ahead and hit save. We should see the status processing. If I refresh in just a couple seconds, we should see that that is now active. Finally, we are out of the plumbing and the security required to set up a connection to Google Sheets. Now let's switch into Data360. So from the app launcher, I am going to go ahead and jump into Data Cloud, and I am actually going to create a data stream to begin pulling in that Google Sheets information. Let's go ahead and hit new. Up at the top right from the data stream tab, I'll choose Google Sheets and hit next. I'm going to put in the Google Sheet URL that I care about. and hit next. And we should pull in the schema for that information, the columns, so on and so forth. For my object label, I'm going to put tank monitoring information. And as I scroll down, I'm going to see tank monitor percentage, tank temperature, tank weight. For primary key, I will choose account ID. This is profile data because we do have identifiable information in there. And I am going to change the data type to match what makes sense. So for tank monitor percentage, let's go with percent. For tank temperature, let's go with number. For tank weight, let's go with number. I'll hit next. And for refresh frequency, I'll go with hourly. And let's hit deploy. As that is deploying, it's going to grab that information into the system here. And the next thing I'm going to do is I want to marry that with my core Salesforce data so that I can get a unified view of an account with not just the name and the zip code and the address of it, but also the tank weight at that organization, the tank temperature, so on and so forth. And so that's where I'm going to come over to mappings and map the external information to the internal information as well. So let's hit the start button. We are going to load up the data model entities that we would like. And I'm going to select from a standard object, the account object here as well. From here, I'll choose the account object. I'll hit done, and I'm also going to immediately save my mappings. And I will also add custom fields or homes for that external information that I care about. So I see here I have tank temperature, I have tank weight. I can go ahead and create a new custom field to hold that external information. And I believe I also have tank monitoring percentage. So all I did to create these is I hit add new field. I gave it a field label and an API name, and then I chose the data type there as well. So to map them, all I've done is I just clicked on the field on the left-hand side and then clicked on the corresponding field on the right-hand side as well. So that is it for this build. I just need to map the information that I care about that's come from the external system to the organization, the account. That's where I want the information to come. So let's go ahead, hit save and close. And we will save this mapping for further use later. Excellent. I can always hit the pending information to refresh the data stream as well. And I should see 9 out of 18 fields here mapped to the account. Now, if I want to explore, if I want to see some of this information, I can head to the Data Explorer tab. I can search for a data lake object, and I can select something that I care about as well. So maybe I want to grab that tank monitoring information. The stream may not have pulled records in just yet, but oh, it looks like it has, which is fantastic. Awesome. I can also view the mapped data model object as well. This one is account. And so what we should see is I'm going to be pulling in all of this information to the account data model object here. Now, what's missing from here is my source data, my Salesforce data. And that's what I'm also going to bring in and marry with this external information. So we should at the end get one giant table that might have Omega Technologies twice. Once with the address information, the zip code information, the name and such from core Salesforce, and then another row with the information sourced from Google Sheets. And what we'll be doing is unifying it and harmonizing and unifying this information so that we get one clear profile of Omega with its tank information and the core information that we have in Salesforce as well. And to do that, we will need another stream, except this time that new stream is going to come from the Salesforce CRM. From here, we'll click View Objects, and we'll choose the account object. I'll hit Next, and we'll include all the fields that we care about, mapping them as well directly to that account data model object. Everything here is going to be selected by default. I'm going to head over to Custom Fields, and all of these are also going to be selected by default. For object category, this is going to be profile data. It's identifying information. And I'm going to go ahead and hit Next as well. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and deploy. From the stream page, we are, per usual, going to hit the review on fields. We are going to do some mappings, and I am going to add a data model entity, add account, and I will choose the default mappings. I won't change anything here. I am also going to add a couple of other data model entities as well. So I'm going to add contact point address and contact point phone as well. That will allow us to perform identity resolution on these organizations. And there's a few mappings that will have to go along with those data model objects as well. This will make it highly unlikely that our clustering when it comes to identity resolution is incorrect, because we'll have mapped the data model object, the data stream information to the right DMOs, and we can use those DMOs in identity resolution. So let me go ahead and also add contact point address. In addition, contact point phone. And I'll hit done. Now there's a few pieces here that will have to be mapped. For contact point address, we are going to want to include contact point ID, our primary key, with account ID. Primary keys should be mapped. In addition, for our contact point phone, we also want to do the same thing. We want to map our primary key here. We also want to map party. So I'll grab my account ID, map that to party. For contact point phone. In addition, we will also map party for contact point address too. And again, also to the primary key, which is account ID. So let's save and close. Let's give that a shot. And from here, once these field mappings have been generated, we should be able to first explore the data model object for account home. This is the data stream. We are going to go to the data model object, and we should see account for the data model object. And there are two streams. There are two streams that are being fed into this data model object, the Salesforce core information and our tank monitoring information from Google Sheets. If I head to the Data Explorer tab and I choose to explore that DMO, we should see information from both sources here in one giant table. Now what we'll do is we will then take this information, now that it's all in one place, and we're going to flatten it down to the profile level. so that we get one clean picture of who that customer is. And perfect, I see I have Google Sheets information. I also have Salesforce Core information. To do that, I need to do so with identity resolutions. I'm going to go ahead and hit new. I'll create a new rule set. And I will choose the primary DMO here, which is account. My rule set ID is going to be 0001. I'll hit next, and I'm going to choose the rule with which I want to flatten this DMO. And I'll call it the account unification rule set. The unified objects that are going to come out of this are listed here. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Next up, we are going to define the conditions for this rule, which means the conditions for matching records together. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to use exact account name, but in practice, this might be a fuzzy match on name. It might be an exact match on email. It might be a combination. It might be fuzzy match on name and exact phone number. Multiple criteria to make sure that you're confident about the records that you are unifying. So let's go ahead and configure my match rule instructions. I'll hit next, and I'm going to go ahead and configure my match rules. I'm going to use a custom rule, and I will go with the account data model object, and I'm going to say account name is an exact match. Hit next. I'm going to go ahead and save. And we also have reconciliation rules as well, which means match data sources may provide different values for a single field. You can set the priority of the source. So if the name of Salesforce differs in some way, or if there's address information that differs between Salesforce and Google Sheets, you could choose, for example, to always set Salesforce as the source of truth. So you can choose which data source becomes your source of truth there as well. So immediately, I am going to run this rule set. Oh, apologies. Looks like it's already running. Looks like the job is already in progress. So I will come back here when we have unified this DMO. And once we have the unified DMO, we should be able to see the results on our record page in Salesforce, because that is what is being queried via the Data360 Query API and our Apex controller. Our identity resolution rule sets have finished. It looks like we had 102 source profiles that unified to 99. So we got rid of 3 or so profiles. Processing history shows us the information about when this succeeded. So our unified DMO should be completed. I can head over to Data Explorer and I can query for it. I can take a look at it, so on and so forth. And moment of truth, we should be able to see information on the account page for key accounts. So let's just make sure Omega Technologies, for example, 93 on the tank monitoring percentage, 23 on tank temperature, and 450 on tank weight. Let's take a look at Omega Technologies, and perfect. We can see the unified information that's come over from Google Sheets. How about Robert Jansen? Awesome. Yeah, we see here 3% on tank capacity, temperature 65.7, weight 115. Let's just jump into the sheet. We see Robert Jansen, 3, 65.7, and 115. How about Larry Baxter? Let's do Larry Baxter. Another person account here, 2%. So we are unifying profiles. We are pulling in information from Google Sheets and displaying it directly on the page there as well. Folks, I hope that helps. We went from an external data source, Google Sheets, and Salesforce Core internal information. We married it together. We flattened it down to the profile level or to the organizational level and displayed it on the page. Those DMOs are also available for segmentation, for agentic workflows, and for activation out to other platforms. Now, we also did so in a secure manner by creating a connected app to parlay the relationship between Data360 and our Salesforce core system via LWC and an Apex controller. We created Auth providers for Google and for Data360. We created external credentials and named credentials to reference them, and we granted ourselves the permissions to be able to run those connections in a safe and secure manner. Questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. More to come and more to discover.